Okay guys, so we're back, and today we're going to make a recipe that's a favorite of John's. This is chocolate chip scones, and it is very fast to make. From start to finish, it's only going to take you about 30 minutes. Not a lot of ingredients, and of course the result is really yummy. So let's start our lesson and let's talk about the ingredients that you're going to need in order to make these. The first thing that you're going to need is your flour, and you're going to need at least 3 cups of flour. You're also going to need sugar, salt, baking powder, make sure it's the powder and not the baking soda, butter, heavy whipping cream, you can get this in your dairy section of the commissary, and last but not least, the yummy chocolate chips. Now, you can also, instead of chocolate chips, use like cran raisins or, whatever you want to throw in there. You can be really inventive, but we're doing chocolate chips today. Then let's talk about the tools that you're going to need for this. You're going to need a nice mixing bowl, a 1 cup measuring cup, a teaspoon measure, a tablespoon measure, also your pastry cutter, and you're going to need a round cake pan. And I'm going to use this for baking. I have my baking stone, but you can use a baking sheet actually. And last but not least, you're going to need parchment paper. So I'm going to let you get that put together, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. The first thing I need you to do is go ahead and turn your oven onto 450, and we can have that going ahead and preheating while we're putting our ingredients together. So I'll give you a minute to go get that, and we'll be right back. Okay, so now we're back. So we're going to go ahead and start adding our ingredients, okay? The first thing we're going to add to our mixing bowl is 2 cups of flour. So I'm going to go ahead and get those added. There's 1. 2. And next comes the sugar. This doesn't have a lot of sugar in it. We're only going to use 3 tablespoons. That's the big one of sugar. So here is 1, 2, 3. And next we're going to add 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Again, make sure that you have the powder and not the baking soda. So there is 1 tablespoon of baking powder. And then we're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So actually get out your 1/2 teaspoon. I'm just going to use my teaspoon and do it halfway. So there's about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Okay, and we're going to use our pastry cutter, and we're going to mix that together really well. And then we're going to go ahead and get our butter. And again, I used non-salted butter, but you can use margarine, whatever comes in a stick. Don't try to use the tub though. Use the stick, okay? So this one is 4 tablespoons, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of slice it into my bowl like that. It's going to make it easier then for us to cut it in with a pastry cutter. So there is 4, and here's another package that holds 4, and I'll just take 1 tablespoon of this one. And that should be about 1 tablespoon. Okay, so I have all of the dry ingredients. Now I've added the butter. Now I'm going to use my pastry cutter, and I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm just going to kind of keep mixing it in with a pastry cutter. And I'm going to keep working it with a pastry cutter until everything is worked in and it looks like little pebbles. So we're going to do that, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back, and like I said, we use the pastry cutter to cut the butter into the flour. And as you can see, everything is in there really well. There's no big lumps of the butter left. And what I'm going to do next is add our second to last ingredient, which is the heavy whipping cream. Just by a 1/2 pint size, and that's going to equal about 1 cup. And I'm going to dump that in there. And then I'm going to use my spatula, and I'm going to stir it in, but not quite all the way, because actually what I want to add next is our magic ingredient, which for us, because this is John's recipe, is going to be chocolate chips. So I'm going to add, I don't know, let's add about 3/4 of a cup of chocolate chips, or 3/4 of a bag of chocolate chips. So we have that in there, and let's go ahead and we'll finish mixing in our ingredients. So I'm going to keep mixing it till all of the cream is mixed in, and there's no residue left from the flour mixture. You'll see everything is going to look like a dough is what you want to end up with. So everything looks really good there. And I'm going to let you finish, and then we're going to be right back. Okay, so we're almost done with our prep work, and our last step is we're going to kind of get this ready to put to cut. So what I'm going to do is take a handful of flour, kind of put that on my baking table, and I'm going to get my scone dough out, and I'm going to put it on there. And I'm going to knead it for just a minute or so, just to kind of get it nice and formed. So I'm going to let you guys do that, and then we'll be back. Okay, so we've kneaded our dough, and now it kind of looks like this. Now let me give you a hint. If you find your dough is kind of falling apart and it's not sticking together, use about an eighth of a cup of just regular milk and stir that in, and that'll get the rest of the dough to stick together. So I've done that. I've kneaded it for like about a minute, and now I'm going to take my cake pan and I'm going to press this dough into the base of the cake pan. And just kind of do it with the ball of your hand there, and see how that's like that? This is just going to give us a nice shape, okay? When that's all in there, then we're going to just kind of take it out in one fell swoop, and then I'm going to cut it in 8 equal parts. So I'm going to give you a chance to do that, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so at this point, you all should have cut your dough into 8 equal pieces. They should look like this. And what I've done is I'm actually using a baking stone. You guys can use your cookie sheets though, that'll work too. And just cover them with a parchment paper. And then what I'm going to do is spread these out on the baking stone about 1 inch apart, giving them lots of time to, room to kind of spread out as they bake. And I've got them on the baking stone, and now I'm going to put them in the oven. Remember, we have it at 450, so make sure the temperature is the right temperature. And then we're going to bake it for 12 minutes. We're going to check to see if it looks done. If not, we might go as far as 15 minutes, but you'll be able to tell. So I'm going to put them in the oven and bake them, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so my scones are done. I pulled them out of the oven, and I want you to see how nice and brown they are. Now again, if you baked yours for 13 minutes and they're not quite this brown, put them in for about another 2 minutes. So I'm using my spatula, and I'm going to put them on this wire baking pan, or the wire baking rack, and let them cool for about 5 minutes, and then they're ready to eat. Nice big glass of water, cup of coffee, be pretty yummy. Okay, boys, I hope you had fun with this video. I had fun making it. When you make this recipe, make sure and call me and tell me how they turned out. I love you all. Have a good time. Bye-bye.